imaginary studies, every student gets an A+. This class would surely preparate Jaihu for real life, he was told, and make him an eligible candidate for one of the 500 or so job openings that were available in the world. He had in mind one job in particular, an unpaid rat feces eater apprenticeship at Greenco Fieldwell Incorporated that he imagined would eventually blossom into $1 million Dow token per year vice president job, where his job would be to get other people jobs and create more job openings based on governmental job reports. That is, if greedy Wall Street megacorps and science deniers would just get out of the way and let the jobifiers jobify. Being a job was his life's calling, or should I say, his life was his job's calling. And every minute spent in imaginary studies brought him closer to that dream. To be of use to a corporation, to increase their profits, cut expenses, and come up with great ad campaigns. It meant the world to Jaihu. Of course, between now and then, he'd have to prove himself as an apprentice and work his way up by rolling rat droppings into bigger, ping-pong ball-sized orbs and gulping them down whole. But once Greenco Fieldwell saw what a diligent and true employee Jaihu could be, they'd be sure to set him on the fast track to success. And he really liked Greenco Fieldwell in particular, because they had a reputation for giving their employees their penises and testicles back as soon as they reached middle management, as opposed to many other companies that hang on to the important stuff until the executive level. Jaihu's eyes were swimming with sweet visions of being a helpful lackey. Lackey! Heck, he'd let the CEO take a shit on his chest if it would make the company $1 extra in pre-tax profits. Boopy bop boop beep beep. A few taps on the Apple Watch, and the Foxconn Lucid Dreamer 69K was remotely programmed to beam good corporate vibes into his head that night. It was a setting he often chose, for when the disembodied, big-nosed, purple-lipped face of his good pal and mentor, Professor Levi Goldstein, who was also a licensed Foxconn Lucid Dream avatar, sang gently in his ear, his sleep would become a free-floating bliss blast to a candy cloud. Ignore this. This is not happening. Stay in school and drink your milk. Don't do these. Don't do one of these. Ah! Oh! Oh! Oh, it's gonna ruin my night. Smell. Okay. It couldn't all be fun and games. Today's next class, French fry mechanics, was a bit less exciting to say the least. This class gave Jaihu a really hard time, but it was important for his future, and so he dedicated a great deal of brainpower to thinking about how to make the perfect batch of crispy, golden fries. The professor, Stephen Lebowitz, was a real stickler, and if one of Jaihu's fries was a dud, he'd have to restart the whole batch. There were maybe 2,000 students in the French fry mechanics amphitheater, all situated around the central holographic projection of Professor Lebowitz. Each student had their own personal mini fryer, which was functionally identical to the real fryers they would be using throughout their careers. And likewise, each student was connected to their own personal facial recognition camera and genital electrode apparatus, which helped to ensure that all of the fries, hot fries, and griddle fresh beef patties were served up with a gleaming smile and a good attitude. This was the one class Jaihu couldn't seem to get the hang of. and he was in the bottom 25%. He had the scrotal burns to prove it, and in fact, it was so stressful, he developed severe trichotillomania and TMJ, and became deeply sad and dejected, and very desperately needed help. But none of that mattered. He was going to have to practice a lot if he had any hope of getting an internship followed by a 10-year-long unpaid apprenticeship after college and his master's program was over. Interact! Think about crispy golden fries. First, the aroma, which entices you and lets you know amazing flavors are headed your way. Next, the heat and texture of the golden crispy fry between your fingertips, the direct connection to a spark of newborn fry life. Just a little greasy so you know it's good. Now open your mouth and accept the salt, dude. Slowly at first, the burst of taste exploding in your mouth, gushing one fry at a time. Now more and more until you're double-fisting big fried chunkalunks. Scarf it down! This message sponsored by McDonald's. My taste is yours. The bell rang, and a microwave pulse of reminder pain shot out from the school's underground scheduling cortex. Jaihu quickened his step along to the next class, Retail 101, which was even less exciting than French fry mechanics. But at least Jaihu was a competent retail technician, which meant he could relax a little. It was a large class with approximately 4,000 students, all corralled together in the big oxygen deprivation tents, which were made up on the inside to resemble real shopping safe zones. The thinner air helped the students perfect conservation of movement. In an actual retail environment, you see, every fold, flip, stitch, zip, brush of the lint roller, and swipe of the cred stick swiper was crucial. And even something as innocuous as excessive breathing could wind up costing the corporation and the government millions in profits and tax revenue. An added side benefit was that all the students learned firsthand the agony and injustice of the police brutality that is a reality for far too many Nemerakians. Jaihu couldn't breathe. Retail 101 was taught by Dr. Jacob Cohen, PhD, who was legendary not only across campus but throughout the world of commerce for inventing a special neck brace which maximized worker focus. The brace, the rights to which had been bought by Mahindra for God knows how much money and branded the My Worker Bee in Namarak and the My Sandeep in India, was a rather clever gizmo which used whistles, horns, LEDs, champagne confetti poppers, and needles to keep laborers zeroed in on mission-critical tasks such as making tortillas and stocking shelves. Of course, the horse blinders on the side were just for show, a special request from the Indian factory floor bosses, which didn't actually enhance the efficacy of the device. The real trick was making it affordable at scale, which Cohen achieved by using an Arduino LilyPad to coordinate the various sensors, with everything powered by 3 AAA batteries conveniently stored in the wearer's ass. The cherry on the sundae? An ingenious set of mechanical gears positioned on the back of the neck brace, which would cleverly snap the worker's cervical spine like a number 2 pencil, should he or she be so unwise as to fall asleep while on the clock. The Mahindra My Worker Bee proved so effective that it is considered essential equipment in the menial labor industry. Cohen was a genius, and NYU Yale HBC was lucky that this double-digit millionaire investor and retail scientist felt so strongly about educating today's future salespeople and assembly line workers that he'd do it essentially almost for free, or very close to free. Jaihu sighed. He knew his Retail 101 homework was helping out the global economy and also directly subsidizing the university, but the tedium weighed on him. Some days the students would learn how to sew together soccer balls, sewing up 200 balls apiece in a given 4-hour period. Other times they would fold t-shirts and put them in plastic bags. The t-shirts had cool logos and sayings on them. The t-shirts had cool logos and sayings on them. Stuff like peace and Che Guevara in dynamic graffiti lettering. He couldn't afford to buy a shirt like that himself, but he imagined that they probably got shipped out to cool people with good taste. People with interesting and sexy depops. It wasn't exciting work, but Jaihu was willing to practice and study hard to make himself a valuable commodity in the scarce job market that awaited him. 1 second, y'all. Just gotta check my stocks. Let me check my stocks. And I'm broke. And I'm broke. And I've made a foolish decision with my money. And I've made a foolish decision with the only money I'll ever have. All right. Jaihu obediently packed an I care about others distressed V-neck into a Uline BPA pure bag. Footnote, pure BPA. It is pure BPA. And sent it down the conveyor belt. Although Professor Cohen was seemingly distracted, playing Zynga on his phone and mowing down a bagel with nootropic lox schmear, you never knew what the old man could catch out of the corner of his eye. Jaihu knew that if he didn't pack the t-shirts with total loving care, there would be hell to pay. Maybe even a lawsuit. He had already been sued by Cohen 3 times this semester. He reached for the next shirt, but then there was a loud crashing boom bang sound in the hall. The skippy bip-bop music thumping through the walls to a present-day person would seem vulgar and mindless, and would seem like culture-killing anti-music created by dangerous subhuman retards. But in 2.5 years hence, things are so advanced and therefore counterintuitive that even your lowest-tier country bumpkin redneck hate white has to admit that bip-bop exists in the same hallowed artistic realm of the finest classical music, and perhaps even a bit higher. It is astounding how much meaning can be conveyed through just 3 monosyllables. It is this ancient and time-honored 3-word structure, invented untold generations ago in the skippy homelands of Atlantis, that gives bip-bop music its form and perhaps some of its primal power. For example, 800 Shibby's hit song, Rape Dat Bitch, is just a chant repeated over and over again for 7 minutes. Rape that bitch! Rape that bitch! Rape that bitch! And so on. Jaihu fondled an unfolded shirt, listening to the hypnotic dirge of raw, healthy, hypermasculine energy. Rape that bitch! Rape that bitch! He thought of Khaleesi and her many lovers, all of them consensual as hell. Knowing he could never please a woman like a powerful and wise Skippy could, even with his Boston Dynamics organ-enhanced G and 50W200 Bose-Einstein Condensate KY Nano Lube. For a split second, a proto-thought of ancient ethnic hatred was allowed to bubble up from his amygdala. Had this proto-thought been allowed to cascade, he would have seen a vision, a horse-mounted Mongol archer, or rather, a horde of archers, with fine fur hats and dyed silk robes, chasing down strange-looking Atlantean beasts, whose nakedness was only concealed by stinking coiled hair and matted straw skirts. The beasts ran like scared children, their gait disrupted by spasms of primal fear, as bamboo arrows sang through the air and called their numbers. Jaihu's Neuralink contact lens video screen, which was connected to the Calm app on his phone, flashed a red and yellow Ravello reset pattern, and he lost his train of thought before it could start. Shirts. Time to bag and fold these bad boys. End of chapter 1. All right, I'll do one more chapter. Let me see what is fun. This book is so fried because the whole thing is like packed with that shit. So after you get through 1/3 of it, it's just like it becomes very like textural and abstract. It's like psychic driving or something like that. Like the words don't even matter anymore. And dude, when I wrote this, I wrote like, there's like 2 or 3 points. There's like 2 or 3 points where I started down some really, this is written by me and John Pellick and a couple other people, by the way. But there were a bunch of points where I started down some really important path where I was like, yeah, I'll just conclude this later. And then later on, I forgot to tie it off or to make it come back to the main, the A-line plot. So there's parts in the book later on where it's like, you might be wondering what happened with the big race. Turns out Jaihu won it all, like wrapping it up in one sentence. Let me see if I can find that. What would I search for to get to that point? Fuck it. All right. Let's do chapter 3. Chapter 3. Last chance for love. Wait, is that the... No, that's not the one I want. Ultimate Woman, blah, blah, blah. Legendary Rival. Ernie Flanders. Hey. The audiobook turned out good, which I was worried about. Okay. So now this is the part where he's having a he's got to win the love and affection of Khaleesi through by being victorious in a drift battle. Chapter 6. Superstars of the legendary battle. And he's been arrested at this point, and the arresting officer's name is Officer. I'm just thinking. Hold on a second. The name of the arresting officer is Officer. So that's where we're starting here. Officer drifted him back. And he's being released. Oh, we got 17 seconds remaining before we have to start a new one? What the fuck? Why would they do that? Come on. Come on. 7 seconds. 6 seconds before it goes away. 3 seconds? Still have to